What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Dropping Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Talon Sai, and today we're sitting down with a close friend of mine. Some might say a mogul in the firearms industry. I'm going to say that. I'm going to hype you up here a little bit.
All right.
He is best known for bringing you the firearm-related news that you actually care about. We got Mr. Jon Patton in the house. What's going on, dude?
Hi, how are you? Everything good?
Everything is good. So we just decided to do this podcast sort of last minute. This is obviously something that I'm spinning up and is like newer for me because I fell off the podcast train for a while, but you've been doing it for a while, and not just podcasting, but you got your hands in a little bit of everything. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, I try to. I'm always spinning around trying new stuff. I realized very, very long ago that the best way for me to get the most traction is to kind of be everywhere. And
Yeah.
we try to do that. Our podcast has been really inconsistent. It's funny you say that. Like we kind of dropped off in the consistency of it, but I've been doing it sporadically for years now. So you know,
Yeah. So before we start talking about Gun Collective and everything that you got going on, um, since we're doing this remote, obviously, and I'm going to have a lot of different guests on the podcast, most of which are creators in the community and just acquaintances that live interesting lives and stuff like that. So, do you remember when we first became like internet friends and how that really happened?
no, I don't remember.
I was trying to think about it on my way in here too, and I couldn't really pinpoint it. I remember, I mean, obviously, when I started making firearm videos, I knew about a lot of people on YouTube. Um, but I think you featured me as GunTuber of the Week, which you recently brought back on your channel, where you feature content creator who is like up and coming. I think at the time I might have had like 100 to 150,000 subscribers, and that was when my gun stuff was on my main channel. But I'm pretty sure that's how we became friends.
Yeah, I think it was around that time. I distinctly remember catching one of your videos somehow. I don't remember. It was probably your Glock 19 video because
Yeah.
reasons, right? Yeah, views. That's probably logical. But
Yep.
I remember hearing your accent and going, "That dude's from around here."
He's from Pennsylvania.
I like
Did he
it's
just
it
say
was
John?
very distinct that I was like, nobody else on the gun tube talks like that. I know where that dude's from. So then
Yeah.
I watched a few videos, put it out there, and I guess we just kind of became buddies after that.
Yeah, those are always the best kind of relationships. Like that's how I become friends with most of my creator friends. Like they'll follow me on social media or like comment about a post that I did or something, whatever it may be, and then it turns into like DMs. I'm like, "Yo, dude, thanks for sharing me as GunTuber of the Week." And then next thing you know, we're like hanging out at SHOT Show and doing the TGC panel, which I'm kind of bummed didn't happen this past year.
Me too. Me too.
Dude, Nashville NRA show was where the TGC panel was going to happen. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, plenty of videos over on John's channels, but um, you gathered like a really good group of people who are influential in the firearms industry, a lot of different demographics that those people are capturing too, and kind of put together that panel. So do you still plan on doing stuff like that in the future?
I mean, we've kind of been heading towards doing that at this coming NRA annual meeting. I mean, to be fair, anybody listening, the NRA has nothing to do with it. We just do it coinciding with that event.
Yeah, it kind of
Uh,
sucks that it is tied to that, but
they
we
actually,
can talk
they
about
actually,
that later.
they kind of booted us out. So we were in there. It was the second year we were in
Oh
there,
yeah,
and then the secretary John Fraser, who is now being sued by the state of New York with the rest of the NRA executives, he came in and started flipping out because I was promoting Adam, who was running for the NRA board at the time, and they called it a
gotcha.
hearing, suggesting that we were giving away stuff to vote for Adam, which was just it just happened to coincide that we were doing two things. Um, and he just came in and flipped out. There's clips of it on the internet, but To rewind, yeah, we're trying to do it again in Houston. Brownells has already said that they want to be the title sponsor again, which is huge. They actually were like, "Hey, are we doing this or what?" um,
Like we don't even know what's happening at this point. There's so many, like everything seems up in the air. Seems like there's some light at the end of the tunnel with the whole like pandemic thing, but
I
yeah,
mean,
man, I hope it happens.
it's in Texas, so there's probably a good chance it's going to happen. Lord knows what
There's
the
no rules.
regulations will be. It's the annual meeting brings in tens of thousands of people, so who knows what we are going to have to do for our event, let alone the bigger event happening down the street.
Hmm.
Who knows? I mean, the venue could force us to require masks or, Lord knows what. I remember when we had the panel in Dallas, I didn't know this, but you can't carry in a bar in Dallas. And
Oh yeah.
we had, I don't remember how many people, but there was probably 100 different people that showed up carrying because they were at the annual meeting, and then they came to our event. And the security guard's like, "None of you can carry." I was like, "Wait, uh, the Gun Collective is in the freaking name. You could have told me this." Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a story for another day. I've got lots of stories about the panel, like trying to set it up and the hoops we have to jump through in every different city because we bounce
Yeah.
around, and every city has their different venues and they all run slightly different. They all want slightly different money. I mean, I,
Hmm.
I think, um, just for reference, we probably spend, I would say, between 30 and $50,000 to put that event on every year.
Shoo. Damn. Yeah. I mean,
It's a lot.
like I visited the one in Texas, and then I was on the panel at the one in where was that? Indianapolis.
Indy, yeah, yeah, in Indy.
Yeah. And dude, it's such a good time. So again, like John basically gathers a group of people who are either YouTubers or whatever it may be, people who have a lot of experience in the industry across different paths too. Like you have some people who are in the military, you have some regular people like me who are just into firearms, and then it's a is it a ticketed event or is it free?
It's the in Indy we did tickets, but it's free tickets.
Okay, so free tickets, and
Yeah,
then people
that's
can come and show up and then just basically ask everyone on the panel questions. So it's a good time, and you live streamed that whole thing, and I know Izzy was helping with that. It's really cool. So yeah, man, looking forward to hopefully doing that again.
it's quite elaborate, and it's grown a lot. I mean, it's only 4 or 5 years old, and we live stream to all over the place. We do, we give away, I don't know, 40, $50,000 worth of stuff. All
Hmm.
the sponsors come in, they give product, and you know this year especially, we're looking to keep evolving. We've even talked about maybe having two separate panels, like two groups of people.
Okay.
There are so many people that I want to be on it that it becomes like there's like 20, 30 people on stage is way too much,
Yeah.
especially if it's one of those questions where everybody has to answer. It takes forever. So, I mean, I think we had 10 or 11 the last time we actually had an event, and that's pushing it. That's pushing it. So it's really hard to select, when I've been doing this for the better part of 10 years, and I've got relationships with all kinds of different people that are from, the millions and millions of subscribers down to the guys that are just starting. And I want to try and bring in people from all that, like you said, just, I don't know. It's going to be interesting picking and sorting that out this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I know we kind of talked about this before, but it comes down to a point where like a lot of the people that you've chosen in the past who are like personal friends, like people who like yes you're acquaintances with, and they both make like we all make content on YouTube, but there are people who like check in every once in a while. Like you and I are friends to a point where like I'll just like text you out of the blue, be like, "Yo, dude, what's going on? What are you working on?" and vice versa. So I think that's a really cool thing too, to have that sort of like camaraderie in the creator community.
Yeah, it's not something I expected when I started, to be like actual buddies with people that I saw on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But as it evolves, as time goes on, you start to realize like the only people that can really level with you about certain things in your life are the people doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I have this conversation pretty frequently with a lot of like creator friends of mine. I was just hanging out with my buddy Mike from Last Line of Defense last night, and we just talk shop nonstop. Like we were out camping, and we were having a discussion about that. How like you have your friends that you grew up with, and like other acquaintances that you've met over the years, but you don't necessarily have that strong connection with the people who work in the same space as you because like you said you can level and talk about these issues that we don't really talk about publicly because it's kind of like in bad taste, but talking about YouTube algorithms and finding what works and working with different companies, and there's a lot that goes into it, and it's cool to share that connection with like a friend who is going through the same stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I distinctly remember the last conversation you and I had in your van. We were heading up to your range here in Pennsylvania, and
Uh-huh.
we were just rapping about, what's working for you, how's that going, what are you trying,
Yeah.
I'm getting screwed in this way, you're getting, you know what I mean? We're like, this is working, this is not type conversations, and it's really nuanced and specific to, at least for me, gun content right now. So it's nice to be able to have that same conversation with somebody that gets it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I mean, it would be people would be mad at me if I didn't ask you some gun questions while we're on here, and like it's so played out. I hate asking people like yourself like gun questions because I hate when people ask me gun questions like, "Oh, what's your favorite this or that?" But we got to do it.
All right.
So I don't want to ask like what's your favorite gun because no one can ever answer that if you're like truly a firearm.
Easy. Desert
Easy.
Desert Eagle 50 cal all day.
Oh, okay, okay. How many of those do you have?
One.
One. Is it Tiger Stripe?
It's chrome. I
Okay.
bought it in 2010. It was made in 2001. Sat for 9 years unfired. I bought it on Gun Broker, and it was a three barrel kit. So it's 357, 44, and 50 AE. I sold the 357 because I could never get it to run right. And now I've got the 44 and 50, and it's not practical in any way. It's so
Mm-hmm.
dumb. Like it is so dumb. The gun like beats itself apart. The safeties come loose. Like it's just not like it's not a Glock. You know what I mean? It's not like an HK. It's
Right.
just not. However, seeing a 10-foot fire ring come out of the muzzle every single shot is really really fun. And I've
And
gotten
feeling that,
bigger stuff, but that one just brings it home for me.
yeah, I'm a huge Desert Eagle fan too. I think I bought mine, man, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. This was like before I was doing a whole lot of gun stuff on YouTube, and I was up in northern Pennsylvania, went into a gun shop. This was at the point where I wasn't making money from YouTube, but I had a good IT job. So I had, for the first time in my life, like a decent amount of extra income. And I was like, I went back and forth. I went into this gun shop on this camp trip. We were up there for like a weekend. I went in like 2 or 3 times, and then finally I was like, all right, I'm buying this thing. So I got the 50 AE chrome plated like movie gun that you see everywhere, Counter Strike, like, and that's what drew me to it. But what a lot of people don't realize if they've never shot a 50 AE Desert Eagle is that the recoil impulse is prominent, but it's not like unmanageable. It's not like shooting a 500 Smith and Wesson.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you boil it down, a lot of that recoil impulse that you're feeling is the weight of the slide because the slide weighs, like a pound and a half by itself. It's just
The gun loaded weighs like 7 pounds.
right, like it's super heavy, and having that big slide, that reciprocating mass just coming back and hitting the end of its travel and just slamming into your hand. I mean, I think that's a lot of what you're feeling. The other thing that's really interesting, I always like to bring up about the Deagle, is that it's a gas piston gun and has a closer tie to like an AR-15 operating system than, or like an AK, I guess, than like a standard blowback gun, which is just awesome. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So the piston mechanism and even the bolt, like
It's a
the
rotating
bolt
bolt.
looks like an AR bolt. Yeah, it actually locks up, which is really neat. That's a cool gun. I haven't done I've done two videos on deagles, but I haven't shot mine in a while because of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
That's a good segue into how have you been doing during panic buying and all the political bullshit that's been going on? Like we don't need to talk details about it, but like you still getting out shooting a bunch, or how's it been for you?
So we were doing reviews pretty much all of 2020, like sporadically. Obviously, we pulled way back. Um,
You almost have to.
yeah. Well, my fiance has severe OCD, and we took it really easy because she's constantly trying to recover. OCD is debilitating, and here comes a pandemic, and that's challenging. It's challenging for folks that don't have that, let alone somebody with some other stuff going on. And so we pulled back on like traveling and doing everything that we were normally doing. And then once we started going back to the range, because our range actually shut down for a long time. Uh,
Oh, really?
yeah, because it fell under certain laws or something here in PA, and they had to shut down.
Damn.
So once they opened back up, we started, getting back to the reviews, and luckily most of it was just 9 mil, and I had a ton of it laying around. Like I wasn't super worried about it. And the other thing is, when somebody's sending us a gun, I make them send ammo so that it doesn't
Okay.
dip into my stash too much.
Yeah, I started having to do that recently, and it a lot of the times doesn't work because they're like, "Yeah, we totally love to send you this gun for a review," and I'm like, "Well, I don't want to just dip into my own ammo, so can you send ammo with it?" And then even firearms companies struggle to supply ammo in some cases.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
definitely appreciated when that happens, but yeah, I'm in the same position. Like a lot of people get pissed because I've cut back on gun videos in general. But I'm still, dude, I put out like, I mean, like four videos in a row at the beginning of this year, and I'm doing like one every 2 weeks ish right now. But
That's a pretty
yeah,
decent cadence, especially when the gun channel is not your primary, like it's you're running two channels right now. So I
yeah,
think it's reasonable to understand that you may pull back a little bit when ammo supply is both scarce and stupid expensive.
yeah. And I would rather go a week or a few weeks without posting a video rather than half-assing a review where like I shot 100 rounds at an indoor range, or like here's a dedicated light review, which I've done in the past, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like I just appreciate higher quality content, and I am more inclined to put out quality content rather than just a quantity that people are looking for.
Well, that's part of the reason we're actually not doing reviews anymore. Um, you know, One of the primary metrics that matters in the YouTube stuff, I know you know this, but um, the views just were not there. Like we started very strong with news and 2A stuff, and we started expanding into other. I started doing reviews, started trying other stuff, and those videos just have never ever performed up to the level of the other stuff, and they take a lot more time to produce. It's I've had so many guns. Almost every long gun I've ever taken out for a review has been wrong in some way. It wasn't accurate reported. It wasn't. It didn't function correctly. Something broke. Like we had so many freaking problems that I was just like, you know what? This is costing me time, money, and causing me a lot of stress. I'm done.
Yeah,
And
especially when you're not getting like the engagement that you're looking for out of something like that.
it,
It
it's it's
it's a yeah, it's defeating. It's a bummer when like you've never purposely put yourself into the niche of like news, but TGC news is like the biggest part of the channel. And then it's so demotivating when you're trying to do something that you want to do out of the normal. Like you wanted to do firearm reviews, so you branch out into that. And then I'm sure you get comments like I get these comments all the time because I do so many different things, but people are like, "Oh, stick to the news, John. Like what are you doing this and blah blah blah." And it's like, "Hey man, this is free."
somebody will say that shit anytime. And to be fair, it's that's their opinion. They're welcome to it, but you can't make everybody happy. I don't know. I've tried ballistic gel videos, which I love. Like personally, I love doing them. I love finding out the results. We have this crazy high speed camera. We film all kinds of cool stuff that way, but at the same time, it just doesn't get the viewership. So to me, what's the point of spending? If for reference, making a gel block takes it takes like 3 to 4 hours to actually produce the raw block, and then it has to go into a uh, for all intents and purposes a scientific style refrigerator so that you don't run into issues with moisture, mold, freezing. Like it has to be ultra consistent in order to have repeatable results, which is something that I always wanted.
Hmm.
However, like you start going down that road. I invested a lot of money and time into that, and it just doesn't perform. So screw it, we'll go, we'll try other things.
Yeah. And I'm in the boat now where like I do so much different content that when something like I put a lot of effort into one video and I'm personally stoked on it and then it just completely falls flat, that's not going to stop me from making that kind of video again. I'm at the point now where I'm just like I got into YouTube because I enjoy making videos and I'm just going to continue doing it whether people out there watch it or not. I know personally that the content is good and even if it doesn't get a lot of views, someone out there is going to appreciate it for what it is. Um,
That's a
but they're
looking at it.
what's that?
I said that's a wise way of looking at it.
Yeah, because a lot of people, especially like younger generations, I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are, but a lot of people look at what people like us do, like YouTube content creators, and they see the glitz and glam, and oh, you can get paid to shoot guns and get paid to do this and that and whatever, and then they try their hand at it, and then they end up being super demotivated because like they don't know how much work goes into it, and I don't even know where I was going with that, but it's
I love that.
it's
You're
like
like, I'm making a point. This is great. Oh, what was I saying?
yeah, I don't even know, but a lot of people I guess don't understand like the art of just making. That's what I was getting at. Like you got to enjoy making videos. You're never going to succeed on YouTube if you think you're going to get into it for money. Like you have to just enjoy doing what you're doing and do whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, it's totally reasonable and possible to make a good living from it. But if that becomes the sole goal, then something's off. And
Yeah.
to be fair, I have felt that way many times. Like with my old channel, I literally was about TGC was kind of a fluke. Uh, the old channel, I was done. Like I was checked out. I finished out the videos that I needed to finish out, and I was just freaking done. And then I moved on to TGC with a plan, and I was like, this can be a different thing, But I was in the mindset back then of, okay, I'm done. I'm going to do something else with my life, and I felt that way. For instance, with the review stuff, it's causing me so much stress, and I'm not great at like managing that.
Hmm.
Um, it was just causing me so much stress. I'm like, I've got to find a way for this not to be beating me up mentally.
Yeah, it becomes too much work at one point. Like you enjoy doing the news obviously and you're enjoying the videos that you're creating, but when it gets to that point where it feels like work, then it's like maybe you got to reassess the situation and find something different to do.
Yeah.
And I go through that a lot, like whether it's working with companies that I feel like they have an expectation of content or engagement on specific posts, and dude, that is the worst to me. Like it whenever I'm working with like a really high end reputable brand and I feel like they have this expectation. A lot of times they don't because the company's so big and they don't care. But that gives me anxiety, like hardcore.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I actually turned down a deal, a brand deal. This funny story. So a company comes to us, says, "Hey, what's your price for an integrated promo?" I give them the price. They come back at half. want it to be double the length of our normal stuff, and had an expectation of views and engagement. Had like they said it has to be this, and I said, first of all, we don't do guarantees ever. I can't guarantee you
You
anything
can't.
with the way YouTube goes. I don't do guarantees. Also, I told you what the price was. You're not going to cut me in half and then expect me to say, oh, sure. Get the hell out
Yeah.
of here, dude.
Do double the work for half the price, John. Why would you not do that?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. What's funny though is I said like, okay, we're not doing any of the stuff you just said. If you want it, here's what I told you. And the guy was like, okay. And then that same company, this is great. I'll tell you who it was after because I don't want to blow up their spot. So
Yeah, yeah.
they the day before, like the evening before, I didn't see they emailed me at like, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock at night. So I didn't see the email till the morning of the video airing, and Izzy's editing it, he's working on it, and then they come to me and say, hey, we're not doing gun related stuff anymore. We're pulling the plug. It's the day it's supposed to air.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
After
trying to think of
we went through all this back and forth, yeah, dude.
like who the company. I'm curious to hear who that is. We'll talk about it after
What's
though.
what's even better is I just saw a promo from them on a gun related video really recently. So I don't know.
Yeah.
They said they were going to pay us anyway, which is fine, sure. But I thought it was really weird.
Yeah, that is strange for sure. Um, all right, back to the stereotypical questions that I gotta ask. I wasn't gonna ask your favorite gun, but I was going to ask what what are your go-to guns for pistol and rifle? Like the ones that are users for you. You either carry around with you every day, you keep on your nightstand at night. Like what's your go-to setup for first pistol?
HKVP9.
Okay, yeah, I remember you've been on the VP9 for a while now.
Yeah, I it fits my hand really well. I shoot it pretty well, and that's really all I care about. I just don't really care about the whiz bang stuff. I've got Thankfully, HK has been pretty supportive. So I've got the long slide version, the long slide optic ready version, the short optic ready version. Um, I have slides and frames, and like it's cool. I've got
Yeah.
a few of them, and I love them. There are other really good guns out there, but I tend to just fall into that VP9 the most consistently.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of experience with the VP9. I think I did a review on it in the past. It was actually, yeah, the video that I did was a few years ago, and at the time they switched from the paddle mag release to the button. They
Yeah.
like came out with a variant of that, and at the time on Gunbroker, you could get a VP9 for like 450, $500, which in today's world is fucking insane. Like that just doesn't happen anymore. So I still like to this day get comments on the video and they're like, "Oh my god, there's no way you're finding a VP9 for that price," blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Well, times were just different back then."
Well,
So,
they came out and they were $600-700, and then like a year or two later, they just plummeted in price. It was awesome.
yeah.
You could just get them, and they're great. They're good guns.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what about rifle? Cuz
That's
this, I mean,
that's harder to answer.
yeah.
I have the second AR I ever built has tens of thousands of rounds on it. It's a piston-driven gun with a polymer lower
Hmm.
and a slick side upper and a Daniel Defense barrel. Like it's not like a cool guy setup. It's got
But it's like a
a
hodgepodge of something that you
yeah,
built.
but it's really fast. It runs like a top, and it has never let me down. Not once has it let me down. So that's
Okay.
probably my go-to. But you know how it is. I've kind of got all kinds of stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's I like my Daniel Defense rifle quite a bit. The IWI Zion 15 is pretty cool for like a affordable factory rifle. I do like that one.
Very yeah, I think the price at least it was on that. It was like 8.99. You're getting like great ergos, you're getting 16.5 inch barrel, like a solid rifle. I did a video on that one too, and IWI just makes good stuff across the board.
Yeah, I think that one's a good option. I mean, there's so many good ARs out there. mean, that's
Yeah.
when you talk like long gun, that's an AR-15 is my go-to. But there are so many other good options out there. You know, you talk pistol caliber carbine. I think the top of that game, if you're talking like an AR style, is probably CMMG. If you
Banshee.
the SP5 is my jam. I really like the HK. Uh, damn, it's not here. I was gonna grab it, but yeah, there's so many options.
Yeah, it's definitely hard because like I mean a lot of new platforms will come out, and then if they are really good, they will get that reputation of like, wow, this is like new top contender.
Yeah,
Um, and speaking of that, since I mean, you are more in tune with the firearms industry than I even care to be because it's your job. And I'm just like, dude, like everyone's asking me about new products and guns that are coming out. And I'm like, I can't even give you my opinion on it because one, I don't really care. Like, I'm at a point now where I have so many guns and I know what I like. That's why I asked you what your like go to pistol and rifle were because I like the guns that I actually have set up and I train with and are ready to go for their purpose as a tool.
sure.
And then I like the super Gucci, like over the top. Like I don't know if you can see it in what you're looking at, but I have a gold Tommy gun sitting back here that's like completely gold plated, and I just like shit like that because it's like flashy and fun.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
similar. I think uh, you know, if you're talking silly stuff, I'm in. I'm in for silly guns.
how about your integrally suppressed Browning or whatever that thing was that we shot the one day?
Uh, KG Made did that, or what they're in KGM Technologies. They changed their name. Uh, in Integral Browning Buckmark Carbine, integrally suppressed. That's freaking cool. What else?
Yeah.
I just did a video on an Integral 1022 barrel. I don't know. I've got
Okay.
all kinds of wacky shit, but the fancy stuff is a lot of fun. The fancy stuff is fancy, you know.
Yeah, and I like firearms too. I basically got into firearms for like the engineering aspect behind them. I like the different mechanisms between like piston and direct blowback, roller delay blowback, and then I mean that's just like one category. But then you get into different pistol mechanisms, and there's a lot of cool stuff. But what is something that I should be aware of? What's something that you're stoked on that is new that I probably don't know about because, like I said, I don't keep up with like new trends.
You know what I have yet to try that looks like it could be exciting is the Walther PDP. Uh,
Okay, yeah.
that looks like it could be cool. Um,
Is that the metal framed version?
no, it's like an updated PPQ. They took
Oh,
Yeah, it's like it stands for like professional duty pistol or some nonsense like that.
okay.
But it's like an updated PPQ. They took stuff from the metal frame gun. They took stuff from this. It's like it's aggressive, a little bit more aggressive than what the PPQ was, and it looks like it could be cool. That one resonates. If you haven't, this isn't really like brand new, but if you haven't looked at Shadow Systems yet, you absolutely should.
Yeah.
Their
I
stuff is really good.
I mean I know of Shadow Systems. I haven't gravitated towards them for no reason in particular, but I definitely heard a lot of good things about them. People seem to enjoy
For the dollar,
that.
they make a gun that is on like really either really close to or right on par to like Zev, and Zev makes
Okay.
really like the OZ9 is a good freaking pistol.
Yeah. I got like three of them, and
The
they're
Shadow Systems guns are right there with it, and they're like I don't know, $800-900 less.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's
shocking.
huge.
It's like I think I said in the video that it's the gun that Glock wished they made because
Yeah.
it's like a tuned up Glock style pistol. It's not obviously it's not a Glock because it's like their thing from the ground up, but it's really good. It's
Yeah. There's been a few companies over the years who have surprised me with coming out with something that is like it may seem like gimmicky at first or it may seem like an imitation, but then it ends up being really affordable and like a really good platform. I can't I can't think of many off the top of my head right now, but I just remember when I was reviewing a ton of guns, like there are some things that just surprise you, and you're like, wow, this is actually good, something I could use, something I can recommend to people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that I love when that happens though, because like you're going into a review, testing something out with literally no expectations, and then it surprises you, and it's like, whoa, this is kind of nice.
You know
I
what?
get behind that.
You know what recently surprised me was the Shield Plus.
Yes, I have one, and I've been working on a video, but I, you know how it is.
The first time I dry fired that gun, I went, "This is going to be good."
It's about time they got rid of the C-shaped articulating trigger.
That garbage.
I I know there were people at Smith and Wesson who were kind of pushing on keeping that because they were like married to the design and everything. But I'm glad they improved that, and yeah, great gun for sure.
Yeah, way better. We went out for that review, and I did not think I was going to love it because typically I prefer larger frame guns, but Genevieve carried a Shield for years, so we started by shooting her gun, and I'm like connecting really well. Wait a second, wait a second, like maybe the new one will be even better. And I mean, what is it, 13 rounds in the gun, something like
Yeah, I think it's 13.
13 rounds in a tiny little handgun. Uh, it's really not bad. The trigger's much improved for a factory gun. That's great. I can't wait to see what the PC versions, the performance center versions of that. I really am excited about those because I love the 380 and 9EZ. Love
Hmm.
both of those. So seeing that evolve is going to be exciting for me.
Yeah, if they can get like, I'm assuming the PC version of that would be like a ported barrel, and that thing's gonna be an awesome option for any kind of CCW or basically whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah, I want to see it with a slightly more aggressive slide texture, like serrations on the front that are a little bit easier to hold on to because they didn't really change that. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a ported barrel, maybe a threaded barrel, and a nice optic mounting option.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, let's stray away from guns a little bit because I mean this is all we talk about anyway, and we're obviously more interesting humans than knowing about guns and shooting them a bunch. Recently, you reached out to me talking about you and Genevieve wanting to travel a little bit more.
Yes,
What's that
yes.
face?
Uh, it's it's uh it's almost overwhelming trying to figure out what the right path is.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you travel a lot as it is with trade shows and stuff throughout the years, but a lot of times, well, actually, you drove to SHOT Show the like 2 years ago, whenever the last SHOT Show was, right?
Yeah, yeah. We drove from southeastern Pennsylvania uh, to Vegas and then back.
And that, dude,
Dude,
that's
that's
crazy.
crazy.
You did it in a minivan, like with your
Yeah,
gear and everything.
we went. We had Felix. For reference, our shepherd is one. He's a large shepherd, weighs in around 100 pounds. When he's laying on the bed next to Genevieve, she's like 5'8". They're the same size. He's big.
Yeah,
So he was in the van. All of our gear was in the van. Genevieve and her dad and I were all together. Uh, wow, that was a trip. We got engaged on that trip.
yeah, that's true. Congrats. Still not married yet, right?
Oh no, the pandemic kind of threw a wrench in that. Everybody that was supposed to get married got like bumped back and like or had to deal with like really crazy restrictions. So we just
Yeah.
had to put it off.
Now this spring and summer, there's so many damn weddings. Luckily, I'm like traveling a bunch, so I don't get invited to weddings like I did like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Not that I'm against weddings, but like when you have a wedding like back to back, like one weekend and then one the next, like dude, that gets exhausting after a while.
It's exhausting. It's also expensive. Like
Yeah.
you end up having to if it's like an away game, you got to get like a hotel or something if you're gonna have some fun. Like it adds up, real fast. Especially if you're in the wedding party, then just $1,000, throw it away.
Yeah, dude, I did that between, I think it was like 2 years ago. I had a few friends get married and I was in all of their weddings. So we got bachelor parties where we tried to go to Vegas. We ended up, our flight got messed up. We went to Atlantic City. And then, so you're paying a ton of money for that, for the hotels, and then a wedding gift. And you got to give a good gift because your buddy's getting married and whatever. But yeah, weddings add up quick, man.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Um, so yeah, to bring it back, we are considering heavily ditching our apartment and living full time in an RV.
Oh,
Partially inspired by you, but that's kind of our thought process. That's where we're potentially heading. We're not sure on anything really yet, but that's kind of where we're heading.
yeah, that's a big decision. So when you reach out to me recently, you were talking about trailers. I didn't think that was going to be the expectation, like you actually get rid of an apartment and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Damn.
it's where we live is expensive. I'm not like bragging; it's overpriced. Uh,
Mhm.
it's just it's kind of close to my mom, and she's alone, so I don't like bailing on her if she needs something. Genevieve's dad lives kind of close, and so we ended up here, and it's okay, it's all right, but we both understand that there's so much more to the country, to life. I mean, that alone is
Yeah.
something that really, really resonates. And then watching your damn videos where you're all over the place, this motherfucker, I got to get out there and do something fun because I'm 37. I'm coming up on 40 real fast, and I don't want to look back and go, I should have done more.
Yeah. So I started sort of like living by that mantra when my YouTube got to a point where I was making money while I was working my IT job, and then I was able to leave my job. So doing YouTube full time, and I'm like, man, this opens up so many opportunities, and like I would feel I don't like having regrets, and I don't have many in life, if any, right now, and I don't want to have them when I'm older. So when these opportunities like present themselves to me, I would hate to look back and look at the opportunities that I passed up on. So I've just sort of been like a go-getter since all that happened. Like I'm just going out there and trying to seize whatever opportunities I can get. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's something. One of the things that you and I bonded over early on was losing a family member, and for me, that was super impactful. And for me, the men in my family don't live super super long, so I'm like, okay, I've got to change this. I've got to see if I can push and either do more with the time that I do have, or just go harder. And that was a for me that's a catalyst of like I need to get out there and see the rest of the country because we driving across the country was completely eye-opening. If you would have asked me 3 years ago if I would consider living tiny, as they call it,
Mm-hmm.
if I was going to live in a tiny home. I mean, literally, Genevieve and I were talking about this. She's like, I really want to do that. I'm like, no way in hell am I going to live in that little of a house. And the more I experience what's out there, the more I look around my apartment and my studio. My studio is a freaking mess. I look around and go, what is all this bullshit that I'm not using? What is
Yeah.
all it's just clutter, it's just junk. Like I don't need all of this stuff that I have, and while some of it is really sentimental and it means a lot, and I just don't need everything, and I feel like using that like putting that thought process of living more simply and enjoying the experiences that are available, like you inspire so many people to do, and there's a lot of travel vloggers and all that, like a lot of people really, really have opened my eyes to what's attainable. And
Yeah.
the other aspect of it for me is okay. Let's say we buy, a big old trailer and get on the road and travel. Well, we then that opens a whole new type of content that we can produce and an opportunity for making content that's not blacklisted everywhere on the internet.
Yeah, that's something that's super important too, and that's why I've always done a little bit of everything on my channel, and then obviously got demonetized and whatever. But yeah, having that diversity is definitely nice. And someone in your position, like I have this conversation with a lot of people who like only do firearm related stuff. A lot of people think about what to do. Like, do I just start putting like lifestyle videos on my main channel? And you and I talked about this when my channel got demonetized because I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. This hasn't really happened to anyone because like what I do and have been doing is kind of unique, like to just mash everything together. But my channel is a lifestyle channel. Firearms are a part of like my lifestyle, so that's why everything was just together. But my suggestion to those people is always to just start another channel
Yeah.
because like like you said, like you're gonna be blacklisted no matter what. There's shadow banning and all this bullshit on YouTube. So that's kind of just the cards that were dealt, and it's unfortunate, but that's I think the best route to go is to like create something completely new and continue with that.
Yeah, and it also, something Genevieve has helped me realize is like I'm not a one-dimensional person. Like for being that TGC has been my life for almost 6 years now, like 6 years a month from now, being that I'm not super one-dimensional, I think there's so much more opportunity for me to explore the things that I really think I might enjoy or actually do enjoy. Like as I try to get healthier, Genevieve is training right now for Ride the Rockies, which is a 400-mile ride in the Rockies.
Oh my gosh,
Right? Like,
that's
no,
insane.
50 miles? I don't know. It's a long effing way. So, seeing her ride, I'm like, well, maybe I can try getting a bike or an e-bike or something like that. And then I'm like, well, maybe I could, if I wanted to, I could try making content about that. Or alternatively, I could just kind of do like the vloggy style stuff that people do. Like, I don't know. But the possibilities are part of what's exciting.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like you obviously have the passion to make videos no matter what it's on because you know how to run a camera and it's something that is straight up just enjoyable to do. So I say go for it, man. Like I'm always telling people, like obviously I don't need to tell you to start a YouTube channel because you're doing it. I've been doing it probably longer than I have, but I get so many of my friends to start YouTube channels because they talk and talk and talk, and a lot of people talk and talk and talk about everything. In this example, creating a YouTube channel, very few people actually do it,
Well,
and it's the
there's
easiest thing
one
to
thing
do.
I realized a long time ago. I realized that I am born to perform in some kind of way. I used to think, and I still sometimes think, that's music. I was a, I mean, I still like technically I'm a drummer. I own drum sets, plural.
Hmm.
Um, so like I love music, but at the same time, I don't want to sound like a dickhead, but I'm pretty damn good in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And I think I can present any type of information given the opportunity. So, with that in mind, I can just kind of use that knowledge and go, well, okay, well, let me learn, let me bring people along, let me like soak in all this knowledge from so many freaking cool people that we know. Like, we know through travels, how many people have you met that are not like specifically gun people, but they're like really, really incredible, and you want to share that with not just the world, but like show how it ties to you and why it matters to you, and just I don't know, like all of that to me is exciting.
Yeah, and that's something that like I was the same way growing up. Like I played in bands and I loved being on stage. I was never a super like outgoing person, and still to this day I'm not crazy outgoing, but when people see us in an environment like this is what we do. We're in front of a camera now, and I feel the same way. Like you give me like anything and I can just sit here and talk about it.
Yeah,
Like
you'll figure
just
it out.
kind of like make shit up off the cuff, and that's just like what we're good at. Um so what do you think you would do outside of YouTube? Like say YouTube doesn't exist tomorrow.
Oh shit, I don't know. It's become such a large part of the world and my life. I'm not sure what would happen. I may fall back into some car stuff. because
Mm-hmm.
I'm still pretty decently versed in it. Before, some people know this, some people don't. My old channel actually has videos of my old STI. That was another thing you and I bonded on. Uh,
Yeah.
I was a gearhead before I got into guns, and I don't know, I might fall into that. It's just like such a difficult question to ask because I understand, at least I think I do, marketing in a way that a lot of people don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've given presentations on it. Um, so maybe something with marketing, maybe something with guns, maybe probably not something. It's like if YouTube, like if TGC was shut down entirely and like was not able to reboot, something like that. Like
Yeah. I'm
if I could not do that, I think I would use it as an opportunity to reset. And
okay.
that's not to say that I don't, like, I'm not going to be a Second Amendment supporter anymore. That guy, that's kind of ridiculous to assume. But I think I would try something different.
Yeah, and I think that's good. You bring up a good point there. Like when I stopped making gun videos because it destroyed my entire channel, I mean, I didn't stop. I never stopped. I created a new channel, I re uploaded everything, and I continued making videos. But on the surface level, people who don't stay in touch with everything, they saw that I wasn't doing gun videos anymore, and they're like, oh, you snowflake, you hate the Second Amendment, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. The Second Amendment and firearms is so ingrained in my life since a kid, like growing up around firearms, shooting. My family are big hunters. Um, it it's idiotic to think otherwise. Um, but yeah, that's a good point though.
I think a lot
Um,
of people, when they are sort of in a mindset of dance monkey. And what I mean by that is you are nothing more to them than entertainment. Uh, and because of that, you are living up to their expectations that they have set for you, whether or not you ever set them with that person. They have put you into this box in their mind. And if you deviate, like we talked about this, trying different content, if you deviate from what they expect from you, sometimes that can cause a backlash. Largely, I think largely the audiences across the board that pay attention on a regular basis would not be upset.
right. They'll just
I think
either not
largely they
watch
don't
it.
really. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no reason for like negative comments and stuff like that, but it does happen. Um, and it's a shame because I feel like a lot of times audiences get entitled and they're like, "Oh, you're not gonna post this week." I'm like, "No, motherfucker, I'm not gonna post this week." Like, I something came up, I can't do it. But at the same time, like I feel that way because of the way that they like word their statements to you. But at the same time, I am the most thankful. Like I wouldn't be able to do what I do without people there watching my content from the beginning. And although there are a few bad apples in the bunch, like for the most part, we would be nowhere without the communities that we have, and that's such a humbling experience to know that like there are people out there who love you as a person, love what you do and what you talk about, you share similar interests. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to be anything other than thankful.
it's really strange the relationship you end up building with the audience. One of the I've had to explain it. I had a conversation with Johnny B, is what his channel is. I had a
Yeah,
conversation with
he
him
changed
years
his
ago.
channel name.
Yeah, I told him to do that.
Oh, okay.
Um, he was going through a rebrand and he leaned on me for some advice. So Johnny came to me early on and had like an interesting experience with somebody that's recognized him. And I said the hardest thing that you have to learn when being a content creator in the relationship with your audience is they know way more about you than you know about them, and you have to pretend, not pretend, but you have to ramp up right away when they come up to you at an event or something. Like you have to go the it's like 90-10. Like they know 90% about you. You have to go the other 90 to meet them
Mm-hmm.
and like have a good conversation with them. That's something that's very eye-opening for a lot of people. It's like this guy knows my family. He knows my dog's name. He knows, stuff about what I like. He
Yeah.
picks shit that I don't know about myself. Like all of these things happen, and you've got to be able to just drop right into a conversation with somebody that you've never met. And
Yeah.
hey, man, thanks for giving a shit about me.
Yeah, and that's a super like weird dynamic because especially at trade shows when people are coming up to you, people come up to me like every 5 minutes and you, you're always under the impression like, yeah, obviously this person knows me or they wouldn't be like tapping me on the shoulder or yelling my name or whatever. And then you have to come into the conversation with that understanding that they like, especially with my content, they could know everything about me that I've ever put on the internet, and I've put a lot out there. There are some people that I meet that I would consider like super fans that are like, "Yo, remember that one time when you lived in New Jersey?" I'm like, "Damn, dude, that was a long time ago. Like I forgot that was even a memory. That I forgot that was something that I put on the internet."
It
But
doesn't matter to you anymore, but they've stuck that in their box with you.
yeah, and so you have to get up to speed really quick on how much this person like knows you, and if you're talking about things, you're like, I often find myself like, oh yeah, one time I did a video about like this thing, and they're like, yeah, yeah, dude, I've seen it. Like you don't need to tell me about it. There's other times though, especially in the firearms world for me, where I'm walking around through a crowded place at SHOT Show, and someone's like staring at me or like pointing, they're like, uh Sunday Gunday, Sunday Gunday. I'm like, you don't even know my name, dude. Like, yeah, yeah. I make videos like, hey man, how's it going? The first thing I always do is like ask their name. I'm like, hey, I'm Talon. What's your name?
Yeah.
A lot of times it kind of goes in one ear out the other when you're doing that a million times a day. But yeah, that's something that was kind of hard to grasp as a content creator.
I think it's pretty cool. I always do the what's your name, where are you from, what do you do? Those like generic questions up front because it gives you like once it gives you sort of one opportunity to pause the conversation and start to understand the other person that you're speaking to. But that's like that's like conversational dynamics.
Yeah,
You know, I really enjoy the human psychology part of this thing that we do and understanding the context in which somebody is approaching you, what they say to you, the order they say it in, how they say it, all of these things. Like I had a gun manufacturer one time pull me aside and like try to give me the like disdainful or like disappointed parent thing because I said something negative about their brand. And he's like, we really like we didn't appreciate. I was like, look, like make your shit better. It wasn't. I didn't say it in those words because that'd be extremely rude.
but
But
that's what everyone's thinking.
my point is like it's always different. It's always really interesting, and the audience is always evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, I think we're almost at an hour. Hopefully, like we don't have any technical difficulties. I don't know what was going on with the recording during this, but um,
I blame Obama.
anything? What's that?
I blame Obama.
Yeah, damn Obama. Anything you want to plug or talk about before we sign off?
Um, Go check out Sunday Gun Day. Go check out Talon Sai on YouTube and on Instagram. Get you one of these here hats.
I appreciate that, man.
If you're into guns and the Second Amendment, check out the Gun Collective on all of the internet. We're everywhere.
YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. You guys are on Twitter too, right?
We're I have a Twitter. I don't use it. So
I'm the same way.
the, I got like kicked back into Twitter because I was doing stuff with Sebastian Gorka, who's used to be he was like a former aide for Trump, and I was on his radio program a bunch, and he always promotes that. So anyway, Instagram, Facebook, we're on Warrior Poets Society Network. We have our own website, theguncollective.com. We sell websites or excuse me, we sell T-shirts at Shall Not Comply.
Cool.
We're everywhere. Yep.
All right, man. Well, thanks for joining. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope it works out. I don't know how this whole thing's going, but yeah, that's going to be all for this week. If you guys are new to the YouTube channel, check us out here. This is where we got the whole video element. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud. and pretty much wherever else you get your podcast. So, Jon, thanks again for joining me.
Dude, thanks
And
for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
yeah, man, I'll talk to you soon. And that's all. So we will talk to you guys in the next one.
Cool.